Sup chooms, how y'all living? Hope everything is Nova and you're all having a preem week. So, one of my viewers made me aware of a very interesting revelation recently. FaceIQ, the looks-maxing extraordinaire, is officially no longer on the carnivore diet. This wasn't really news to me because I don't think FaceIQ really ever was on the carnivore diet to begin with. He eats fruit. He told me so himself. You see, FaceIQ and I had a bit of a back and forth last year. It wasn't nasty or anything, fortunately. Neither of us got personal. But my overall take on FaceIQ's epistemology is that he doesn't believe you can draw strong conclusions from nutrition science and instead thinks we should rely on anthropological data instead. I don't necessarily agree with that, but that's not the point of this video. FaceIQ and I have already gone over our disagreements on that subject plenty of times. The reason I bring it up, though, is because I think a lot of the people in the carnivore crowd, including FaceIQ's own subscribers who are mad at him, are kind of missing the big picture here. FaceIQ's ideology hasn't changed. It's just been refined. He still believes in living an ancestral lifestyle. The only big difference now is that he no longer thinks the carnivore diet is an ancestral or species-specific diet, and on that point, he's absolutely correct. The carnivore diet is not a natural diet. It is not ancestral or species-specific or whatever the hell you want to call it diet. It's just an internet fad that was invented 7 years ago by some dorks on 4chan to troll vegans and to start a culture war over food. So, all these carnivore influencers who are acting like FaceIQ has made some huge epistemological change, he actually hasn't. He just has a better understanding of the anthropological data now, and he's come to the understanding that carbohydrates absolutely play a very important role in an ancestral diet. And he's absolutely right that they do, and I'll get to that in a moment. So, FaceIQ has uploaded a couple of videos explaining the changes he's made to his diet, and I'm not going to go over everything he said, but he does make a lot of excellent points, so I still encourage people to watch his videos, but there was one particular argument he made that I found compelling, and I wanted to go ahead and address that argument. So, to paraphrase what he said, he basically made the point that he still believes in following a primal diet that our ancestors followed, but he questions why we model our current diets off of the ancestors who lived in the coldest, harshest climates on Earth, where survival was very difficult. He's absolutely right about that, and that was actually one of the arguments I made in my response video to FaceIQ last year. I mean, why should we cherry pick the diets of ancient European people who lived in the cold climates when there were also humans who lived in much warmer climates for hundreds of thousands of years prior to that? He mentions in the video that throughout all of human history, there have been many people who lived around the equator where it was still warm. Even during the Ice Age, there were still tropical climates. There were even more rainforests back during the Ice Age than there are today, and they weren't that affected by the Ice Age. They were just a few degrees cooler, but still, they were overall very warm. Modern-day Homo sapiens have been around for over 300,000 years, yet we only arrived in Europe about 50,000 years ago. But even after humans migrated to Europe, there are still plenty of people who still lived in these tropical climates closer to the equator, and they would have had plentiful access to fruit. So, for the vast majority of human existence, carbohydrate-rich foods like fruit, starchy vegetables, and honey would have been plentiful. And I know someone in the comment section is going to challenge me to the old trope by saying something like, "But Kevin, the fruit we eat today is nothing like the fruit back then. There have been thousands of years of breeding, so fruit is sweeter, bigger, and more edible than it was back then. Didn't you know that, bro?" That doesn't fucking matter, guys. Fruit, at every point in human existence, has always been edible, and humans have always enjoyed eating it. Honey is much higher in sugar than even the sweetest of fruits, yet humans have been eating it for hundreds of thousands of years. Fruit may be even more delicious today than back then, but it was still sweet back then. That's because fruit actually wants to be eaten. After all, fruit contains the seeds of the plants producing it, and the whole idea of fruit is to be eaten by animals so animals can spread their seeds around. The sugar content found in modern fruits may be higher, but it is still not a cause for concern because fruit has a low glycemic index and it is full of fiber which slows down the absorption of sugar. Also, the existence of honey as an ancient food source means that foods that are much higher in sugar than modern-day fruits have been around for hundreds of thousands of years. So, modern-day fruits may be different from ancient fruits, but they still have many of the same benefits and can absolutely still be incorporated into a healthy diet. Remember, modern-day Homo sapiens have been around for over 300,000 years, yet we only arrived in Europe about 50,000 years ago. But even after humans migrated to Europe, there are still plenty of people who remained in these tropical climates closer to the equator, and they would have had access to more fruit. In fact, Europe was one of the last places that Homo sapiens migrated to. There were earlier migrations about 100,000 to 125,000 years ago to China and to the Middle East. So for the vast majority of human existence, carbohydrate-rich foods like fruit and honey would have been plentiful for most humans on Earth. So it doesn't make sense to just cherry-pick prehistoric humans living in Europe during the Ice Age during the harshest conditions possible and then claim that what they ate is what the appropriate ancestral diet is for all of humanity. In fact, besides all the evidence I put out in my previous videos on the carnivore diet, and of course I'll link those videos below, besides all that research, there is a new study that shows that plants made up a big part of the Mesolithic hunter-gatherers who lived in northern Europe from 3,000 to 6,000 years ago. This was before agriculture was introduced to Europe, so even though farming had been introduced in the Middle East and elsewhere at the time, in the cold, harsh climate of northern Europe, Stone Age people still existed. Yet, this new study adds even more evidence that their diet was a mixed diet of meat, fish, and plants. So, this article was published in the National Geographic about a month ago. It's titled, quote, "The real paleo diet had plenty of fruits and veggies," unquote. And the subtitle is, quote, "A new study of ancient pottery adds to evidence that hunter-gatherers in Europe ate more than meat and developed early elements of cuisine," unquote. The National Geographic article is based on this scientific study titled, quote, "Selective culinary uses of plant foods by northern and eastern European hunter-gatherer fishers," unquote. The research studied pottery found at 13 archaeological sites of hunter-gatherers from northern and eastern Europe dating back from 3000 to 6000 BC. Again, this was before the introduction of agriculture in Europe. This is technically the Mesolithic era, which lies between the Paleolithic and Neolithic eras. In other words, we're talking about the Middle Stone Age here. Here's a list of the sites that were used in the study. The study looked for food remains called food crusts that were found in ancient pottery. The authors of the study point out that traditional analysis of ancient diets is biased towards identifying animal products and food remains, and it underestimates plant products. They specifically note that animal lipid products are more stable over time than plant-derived lipids. But this applies to other analyses I've gone over as well, like the fact that animal bones are preserved in cooking sites while plant remains are not. This is amplified by the fact that stable isotope data is completely unreliable because humans often ate rotting meat that was infested with maggots, and maggots artificially increase stable isotope levels to make it seem like humans ate way more meat than they really did. I talked about that in my previous video on the subject, but the concept is pretty easy to understand. Unlike animals like wolves, hyenas, and other true carnivores that prefer to eat freshly killed meat, humans were scavengers who ate meat killed by other animals. In addition, they would bring meat back to their habitats and keep it for days. So humans often ate rotting meat full of maggots, and the maggots raised stable isotope data 8 times higher. Because of that, the stable isotope data is not a reliable metric in assessing how much meat humans actually ate. It is also true that eating aquatic animals like fish also raises stable isotope levels much more so than eating terrestrial meat. All these factors result in an overestimation of how much meat prehistoric humans actually ate. But fortunately, we have new techniques that have been developed to adjust for these biases towards a diet largely based on eating animals, and they have all consistently shown that older studies underestimated the role of plants in the diet of our ancient ancestors. The new study looked for traces of plant matter in pottery fragments containing the remnants of food from European archaeological sites. Specifically, the study used a scanning electron microscope to identify plant matter in these food traces. The researchers were able to combine this microscopic data with carbon isotope analysis of lipids found in the food remains. Using carbon isotope analysis, they found evidence that the diet of these ancient humans contained a mixture of aquatic and terrestrial animal foods, with a stronger reliance on aquatic animals like fish than it did on terrestrial animals. However, this type of isotope analysis underestimates the amount of plant-based lipids in the diet, so the investigators used the electron microscope data to show that these animal foods were almost always mixed with plant foods, and often specific plants were combined with specific animal foods. It's almost like these humans had specific recipes for the meals they prepared. The study concludes, quote, "In this case, we were able to reevaluate the role of hunter-gatherer fisher European pottery, albeit on a subsample of vessels with preserved food crusts. to show unequivocally that plants were incorporated into ceramic culinary practices. We show hunter-gatherer fisher communities approach plant food selectively, consciously choosing certain species over others and combining these with specific animal ingredients. Such practices would have created new aesthetics, taste, flavors, and textures that would be hard to achieve without pottery technology and may have contributed to the motivation for its invention and adoption, unquote. So, even in the harsh, cold conditions of Stone Age Northern Europe, hunter-gatherers were eating plants along with meat and fish. There's no evidence humans at any time ate only meat or nearly only meat. Even if there were some occasion where humans were forced to eat only meat, why would we want to model our diet off of that, especially since the majority of humans throughout history were eating a mixture of animal and plant foods? It's also highly ethnocentric if you really think about it. Although many people do have a European origin, there are plenty of other parts of the world that are not Europe and that don't have a cold and harsh climate. Homo sapiens spent most of their existence in Africa, and like I said earlier, they didn't migrate to Europe until about 50,000 years ago. And of course, plenty of humans stayed in Africa and are still in Africa today, where plant life is plentiful, and there's no evidence anyone there ever ate a meat-only diet. Hell, there's even evidence that hunter-gatherers were baking bread over 14,000 years ago in the Middle East. That's long before the onset of agriculture. So that's right, bread predates agriculture. In fact, I really think FaceIQ shouldn't limit himself to just adding fruit to his diet. I think he should be eating a diverse variety of plants. That's because there is new evidence that back in the Palaeolithic era, plants were an essential part of the diet, and not just fruit. This was a study published in 2022 that showed evidence of charred plant remains found in food remnants in 2 caves, one located in Greece and one in present-day Iraq. These findings date back from around 12,000 years ago to 75,000 years ago. The study showed that eating plants was an essential part of the Stone Age diet. This diet included the processing of a broad spectrum of plant foods, including starchy tubers and grasses, as well as a large variety of bitter, astringent, and even potentially toxic plants for human consumption that were prepared by using grinding, mashing, soaking, and cooking to be more palatable and remove any toxic elements. Clearly, plants were not just an incidental part of their diet. Instead, they were essential to the cuisine of prehistoric people. Now, I know some people will say things like, oh, well, they had to use preparation to make the foods more palatable. But that's no different from how we got any of our other foods. I mean, if a caveman just tried to bite into a woolly mammoth, he would have been crushed to death. The authors conclude that the use of plants in Stone Age cuisine has a deep history that predates the arrival of agriculture by tens of thousands of years. So this crazy idea that somehow only the diet of some imagined apex predator, hyper-carnivore caveman that never existed in real life is the diet modern humans should follow is just pure nonsense. And FaceIQ was right to realize this. Humans have always eaten plants, and this is being confirmed and reconfirmed every year as more and more research is done. So, I don't necessarily share FaceIQ's sentiment that humans need to follow an ancestral diet. That doesn't really matter to me. The only thing I actually care about is what shows the best health outcomes, and in that respect, the best diet is the Mediterranean diet. But by introducing more fruit into his diet and de-emphasizing meat, I do think FaceIQ is being more logically consistent with his epistemology. He thinks our ancestors weren't on the carnivore diet, and he's absolutely right. The carnivore diet is not an ancestral diet. It is a fake internet troll diet for assholes and culture warriors. So, props to FaceIQ for doing this. This move definitely took a lot of bravery on his part, especially since I believe his livelihood is dependent on YouTube. So, the fact that he made this change knowing full well that it would likely hurt his financial bottom line took a lot of integrity. Now, I know FaceIQ is currently under attack by Bark K, but if you're watching this FaceIQ, I really wouldn't worry about what he says, because remember, you're still fundamentally a looks maxer, and when it comes to the subject of Bark K, well, just look at what the carnivore diet did to him. Is this really what you want to be like in 30 years? Alright, I think that's it for today, but thank you all so much for watching. I will see you all next time. God bless.